As great as the new Mac Studio and Studio Display are, um, the fact that Apple discontinued the 27-inch iMac, possibly for good, in my opinion, makes it feel like there is kind of a hole in the Apple desktop lineup, especially if you want all of your desktop components to have an Apple logo. The 2020 Retina 5K 27-inch iMac started at about $1,800 US, and you could easily get one decked out for, I don't know, $2,300 to $2,500, somewhere in that range. And if you look at what I would consider to be the closest replacement, that's probably an M1 Mac Mini. And remember, the goal here is to get something that's all Apple components. So you could look at an M1 Mac Mini, and even the lowest configuration of that, combined with the new Studio Display, which is already $1,600 US, gets you at about $2,492 for a system, well above the $1,800 price of a 5K 27-inch iMac. And remember, we're talking about basically the same 5K display between these two models. So that kind of, in my mind, leaves a hole in the lineup if you want that kind of setup. And I'm trying to decipher for myself or decide, and maybe you can help me in the community decide if that is actually a problem for Apple or not. I mean, does the 24-inch M1 iMac feel like a good enough compromise? I mean, they did bump the display up from 21.5 inches to 24 inches, so it's kind of right in that middle range, but it's still not a 27-inch display. You know, lose a couple, and you also lose a couple of. So not only do you lose a couple inches, I guess this is what I want to say. Not only do you lose a couple of inches, but you also lose half a K of resolution because the 24-inch iMac is a 4.5K display. And I feel like the 27-inch iMac was really that perfect kind of machine for what I would call consumer power users. Somebody who wanted a little more machine than the base model, say M1 Mac Mini would offer, or the 24-inch iMac would offer, and a little more screen real estate, just a little more power at a little extra cost, not a lot of extra cost. So, if you're starting to configure out a higher end Mac Mini, at what point do you jump to maybe the base model M1 Max Studio with a lower priced display, like a $300 to $500 4K monitor? So now you're not getting all Apple components, but you could get a Mac Studio close to, since it's starting at $1,900, close to that $2,500 price point where you might have configured a 27-inch iMac to. See how things get kind of a little bit muddy in terms of like, how do you build that perfect kind of consumer power level desktop system? Is it a Mac Mini? Is it a lower end Mac Studio at this point? Because you don't have that 27-inch iMac option. So the question then becomes, is this something that Apple needs to bring back into the lineup? I don't think the rumors that we may get a 27-inch iMac Pro will solve this problem, because that's maybe not coming until 2023, and even if it does, the price point on that is much higher, right? It's going to be more in the range of the Mac Studio with the M1 Ultra, and I would expect it to have more of the Pro Max processors rather than the consumer level processors. So it's really, really interesting to think about. Is this the right mix? Does Apple have the full product lineup with the removal of the 27-inch iMac, or do we still need kind of something to fill that space? I'm trying to wrap my head around that. And again, I really feel like it probably is a Mac Mini combined with a Studio Display, but it still feels like you're paying a lot more and maybe not getting the same amount. But I'd love to hear your opinions on this. Now that we have this new mix of Apple desktops, Does it feel like Apple has the right mix? Send me some comments, send me some opinions, maccast@gmail.com.